A common misconception about photography, and art in general, is that the picture needs to be perfect. This couldn't be further from the truth. Remember that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and sometimes the things which make a subject or even a whole photograph beautiful are the flaws. When you're trying to capture really awesome pictures, it's important to understand the limits of your lens. You want to learn how your camera works in extreme conditions, and that can help you find beautiful new ways to take pictures. Any camera can take a simple, nice picture of a scene. But if you find the limits of your camera, then you will be able to capture pictures that no one else can. There's many different ways to push your lens to its limits without even harming your camera. We're going to look at some categories now where it's pretty easy to experiment. The first category is close-ups. The clearest close-up photos are captured with a macro lens, which is designed to strongly magnify a small region. Actual macro lenses can be challenging to work with because they're so strongly focused on a particular distance that you must be very careful with how far you hold your camera from your subject. Many smartphones also include a macro mode, which attempts to simulate this intense focus, but the results are generally a little bit more blurry and noisy than if you would use a actual high quality glass macro lens. The other place I'd like you to think about is distortion. Many lenses will stretch or squish a part of the photo near either the center or edges of the frame, possibly both. Most commonly, you'll see this stretching happen at the edges of the image and on straight lines, like arms and legs and edges of buildings. You'll see those lines bending towards or away from the center of the frame. Try using this, experiment with this distortion, and try to enhance your photos with it. Push really close to a series of straight lines with a wide-angle lens and just allow it to stretch those lines towards the edge of the frame. Or take a lens that tends to squish things at the center and put a large subject there so it gets pulled inward. The third kind of distortion is color distortion or fringing. More technically, this is called chromatic aberration, and you might find that your photo has colorful rings or stripes around tightly grouped patterns, or near areas of high contrast, or right at the edge of a sharp line. These rainbows are caused by the various colors of light being distorted at different rates as they pass through a lens. It is most common when you're using a cheap lens, but even high-end lenses can suffer from distortion in extreme lighting conditions. Wide-angle lenses are especially likely to experience fringing because of how intensely they bend the light. And I'm not just talking about those huge fisheye lenses. Keep an eye out for this on 360-degree cameras, like some GoPros use, as well as on those 0.5 magnification wide-angle lenses that are built into some smartphones. Many photographers will pay lots of money for high-quality lenses and filters that prevent this kind of color distortion. But others will intentionally seek out damaged or poorly made lenses in order to create extremes of color and shifts in lighting in their photos. Most lenses are designed to evenly distribute light across your camera's sensor and create a faithful representation of the scene. Sometimes this is impossible to do, as the extremes of zoom and wide-angle photography require sacrificing perfect capture of the whole image to bend the light and make the focal point more clear. Sometimes, also, lenses are not well made, or they've been damaged, and this can result in unusual distributions of bright light versus splotches of darkness. Try experimenting with using a vignette effect in your pictures. You might add this in post by adjusting the vignette slider on your smartphone. You might take the picture using a long zoom lens pushed to its extreme. Or you might borrow one of your family's old lenses. Or perhaps your family has some old lenses sitting around the house, some of which are not in great condition, and you can have some fun taking pictures with a damaged lens. Experiment with using this vignette effect to give your pictures a sense of depth, or age, or uncertainty as the light fades away at the corners. Whatever you do, experiment. Push yourself to the limits of your abilities and try and come up with some cool photos. I'll see you next week, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.